We're off to Zhengzhou now, though, boys. I'm going to start with you, James. Let's start right at the very beginning of the tournament. Futures, who wins this?
Yeah, so we were talking about this a little bit before. I think we've all been on the same wavelength, really, from the outright front. I didn't see a huge amount of options, but one that really stood out was Snize Zheng, who is at 34. She was 50s, but now down to 34, which I still think is a very good price. And so the first thing about this one is the playing conditions. For me, it's quite slow. It's the kind of tournament where I think it's one of the slowest tournaments. So you're generally looking for the more return-orientated players. And Zheng fits the bill in that regard. She's played really well this year. Recently took down the title in San Jose, which again is slow. It's not quite as slow as here, but it's similar conditions. She won this event last year. It's been upgraded to a premier event in 2019, but she won this event last year and probably will have a lot of fond memories. The time she played it before that, she also lost out 7-6, 7-6 against one of the seeds. So she's played really well here in the past. And on all recent form, I think we've got to side with her to retain the title, or at least give it a good go. She's in a weak quarter with, I think, Bertens, and realistically, I think there's a couple of quarters I would generally stay away from, or at least more so, which is the ones headed by Svitolina and Pliskova. And then I think the other two quarters are a little bit more open. So yeah, I think Zheng outright at 34, and then also Zheng to win her quarter, because I think that's the particularly weak element of it. I think she'd have to play Pliskova to make the final, which is not ideal, although I think she could do that. And then at 8 to win her quarter, which is, which I think is also very good.
Snize, you had Bianca all the way, and you're going to agree with James here with Zheng, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. So, as James said, this is a new WTA Premier event. It's been upgraded from a challenger. It's quite new one. I think they've only had 5 years or so on tour. And as he said, quite slow hard courts, medium pace, medium slow. So it does favor the return-oriented players and to some extent players that find success on clay. Worth noting is the home support is absolutely humongous here in China. The Chinese fans bring the heat, they bring the support, and the stands will be full as soon as we have a Chinese player that will be playing, and in retrospect to that, it will be almost empty when a Chinese player is not playing. So massive support, and the patriotic Chinese players really have a lot of fun memories. They really want to perform well at their home field, and we usually see Chinese players do just that. They usually perform at their very best in these home events. So in that line, Snize Zheng fits all the bills. She has an exploitable section in her draw. She's been placed in the second quarter, where we have Kiki Bertens, who's been largely woeful this season. Angelique Kerber, the other big seed, absolutely horrendous season for her as well. So definitely a very, very, very weak quarter for her. So I've bet her to win that quarter at 8, and just as James, win outright at 34.
Okay, I mean, we was talking to Adam a couple of weeks ago, and he was covering the esports over in China, and said that the crowd just watching screens, watching players play on the esports, was like a football stadium. He'd never heard anything like it. Also, after this, in the second part of the show, we're going to go off to the Shanghai Masters, where Ding is obviously going to play as well. But Snize, back to the tennis, back to the WTA. We've got Zheng on one side of the board. Have we got anything on the other side of the board so we can be greedy and have both finalists?
Yeah, that was the plan in the US Open. Didn't quite pan out as Madison Keys was knocked out, but we came kind of close, and we are obviously gunning for that again here. Looking at the bottom half of the section here, it's spearheaded by Elina Svitolina, as James mentioned, Caroline Garcia, Arina Sabalenka, and Petra Martic. And the one I have fancied here is Petra Martic. She's the 7th seed. She's already won a match, actually, so she'll have a match to get accustomed to the conditions. She got through Jasmine Paolini in straight sets, really got kicking in the second set, winning it 6-1. Looking at her mini section, the big seed is Arina Sabalenka, and there are a lot of question marks surrounding her right now, the Belarusian. She's, first of all, traveled. She's just won the doubles title in the US Open this Sunday, so she'll be coming here entirely different time zone on short rest, time to get accustomed to these conditions after a long week. So there's that aspect. And Martic got knocked out much earlier. And there's also the fact that Sabalenka has been on Instagram writing poems to her former coach. Is he still her coach? We don't know that. It's been all over Instagram. They seem to have a very, very close relationship, and it almost looked like some kind of love story going on there. So we don't know. She was officially splitting with her coach just a few days ago, but it's been on and off. So we don't actually know that. So if not the fatigue and the hangover for winning the doubles title, it's the coaching situation that really puts Sabalenka off for me here. So she should be able to win a quarter. Looking for further, we have Caroline Garcia, who's been in really, really poor form this season, and obviously Elina Svitolina, who is the big test there. But with many of these big Cs, the question is motivation. The paycheck is good enough for them to show up, but will they compete, or will they use this as practice for the larger events coming up later on in this Asian swing? So with questionable motivation, Svitolina will obviously be a tough opponent if she gets there, but Martic is the standout value at this price, and I got her to win outright at 13.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal opinion on Svitolina is that she looked like a spent force in the semi-final, James. I like the way we've gone with Zhang at 34, obviously higher in places, but not for very long, and 8-1 to win her quarters. If I asked you to just give me like one game that you could like maybe find some value in, where would you go?
Yeah, so it's not the first round that massively jumps out, but I think there's a player who I actually also considered on the outrights in the bottom half of the draw, which is Farrow, who's playing Yang. She's 41 outright, which wasn't quite enough for me to go with, but I considered it. But I think in this match, I would expect her to kind of have it all her own way. She's priced at 1.15 with most bookies, but we can get evens on under 19.5 games, which basically requires her to win 3 and 4 or better, and no 3 sets. So in this matchup, again, there's 2 major things here. Playing conditions are slow. Whenever you have slow playing conditions, it's definitely a better bet, I think, in general, to look for players to be dominant and one-sided, as opposed to looking for tighter matches, because tighter matches usually come about because of pretty good serving, or at least, pretty competitive tennis, and I just don't think that's likely in this kind of matchup. Yang does have a good serve. She's more serve orientated than you might like for an underbet, but what that does mean is that she's quite predictable. We know that she's going to be able to serve relatively well, but she's not really going to be able to compete with Farrow from the baseline. I would certainly not expect her to be able to push Farrow that much. As long as Farrow turns up in decent form, she will be able to dominate most of those rallies. So all we're really looking for is one slightly weaker service game in each set, and this bet should land relatively comfortably. I mean, a lot of the time here, I would be expecting even more dominant display than under 19.5, but I think it gives her a little bit of wiggle room if the underdog puts up a bit of a fight.
Snize, I know what you're like, and if James has found or likes under 19.5 Farrow Yang, if you go Farrow Yang, where's the value with the handicap?
Yes, so I like the way James broke down that match. This is also a match that I have one of 2 selections on in this first round. So first of all, we just want to talk a bit about Fiona Farrow. She's been a stable riser on tour, and one wouldn't really have expected that since she started the year 1-6. She was starting the year ranked 102, slipped down to 116, did not look good. But she's very talented, has a ripper of a forehand that she had on any occasion, has great footwork, and really runs around to smash that forehand and protect her backhand wing at any given opportunity. She's rising through the ranks. She found her feet with Guadalajara and Lugano semifinals. She won Lausanne, and she made another quarterfinal in Palermo, and also went to the last 16 through qualifying and made the third round of US Open. So certainly been on an upswing in form there. A wildcard Yang Shaozan. Yeah, I'm bad with pronunciation, sorry. She plays very sparingly on the single circuit is one thing we must note here. She's only played in the last 3 years 34 matches, and that's because she's a skilled doubles player, almost exclusively is playing doubles these days. So there's that. She's only won 5 of her last 14 matches on hardcourt across these 3 years, and we really rarely get to see her in action at all outside of her home continent. So looking at the stats here, Farrow is just ranked under the top, 99.2 in the yearly whole break radio, 94th in the world with her 1640 hardcourt ELO, slightly better on clay. We don't have that many statistics when it goes to Yang, but she lost in straight sets, 6-3, 6-3 to Chloe Packett, Farrow's talented countrywoman, earlier this year, and she got demolished by Sophia Kenin, as we know, as a rapid riser in the ranks, 6-1, 6-2 last year in Wuhan. So we've seen her not really been able to measure up against a more talented opposition on the singles court. So I've gone ahead and played -5.5 games at 1.88 with Pinnacle. This can cover even if we do go 3 sets, because I could well see Yang serving well and hanging with Farrow, but I expect the disparity in quality to show over the course of 2 or 3 sets.
Okay, before I say goodbye, give me another game that you fancy the value is with the outsider.
Yeah, I have another match that I like here, and it's the match between Allison Risk and Angelique Kerber. Both of these bets I've said here are going to come up on Oddsmarket.com tomorrow, by the way, in written form. Just really quickly, Allison Risk has had a great year. She's risen through the ranks from World 63 to World 33. That's a career high. She's a fierce competitor and plays a very aggressive flat-hitting game, which makes her a great player to bet on grass in particular. She won the ITF Surbiton and WTA Hertogenbosch title, notably saving 5 championship points against Kiki Bertens and taking home the Hertogenbosch title in Bertens' home country. She also made the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, pushing Serena Williams to 3 sets. So she's a fantastic competitor, is one thing you must note here. Kerber, she's been a disaster this year, as we touched upon a bit. She's been floundering badly, and I think that she just struggles to deal with the pressure. In 2016, she won 2 slam titles. The year after, disaster, ended the year world not ranked 21. Last year, won the Wimbledon title. This year, again, floundering. Right now, currently world number 15 and sliding. So I don't know if it's just that she can't deal with the pressure. Obviously, she's been injured a bit this year, but she hasn't looked good. I don't think she is 100% physically. So she's, since Wimbledon, getting balanced there, she's just gone 0-3, and she's not looking good right now. I think this has the makings of a first-round upset written all over it. This opportunity, first things first, only came because Simona Halep withdrew with an ankle injury, so late wild call, so she might not be prepared. And just Allison Risk is just such a good player. She beat her on the last occasion they played last year on grass, and I think that she'll be able to exploit Kerber's lack of aggression in rallies. So I bet her to win at 2.5 with BetHard, also available at 2.44 with Pinnacle.
Okay, boys, listen, I'm going to let you go. It's been a really tough few days for you, picking up and counting all that money on the back of Bianca, on the back of Medvedev. So let's hope we start again. We go for Zhang, we go for Petra, we're going to call her, just to give us a little bit more, I don't know, like an omen, really. If we call her second names, they get beat. We call them by their first names, they bring it home. Lads, keep up the great work, and I'll see you soon.